The Grand Imperator's voice echoed through 10,000 worlds as he demanded Earth's surrender, and Earth responded with a cooking show. The broadcast was intercepted galaxy-wide, a cheerful human chef flambeing a steak while jazz music played in the background. No subtitles. No translation. Just a wink to the camera and a casual. Today we're making ribs. Galactic Empire style, extra crispy. On Zerat Prime, diplomats choked on their nutrient gels. In the Venery halls of conquest, the War Council paused, unsure if it was a threat or a cooking tutorial. And aboard the Empire's flagship Vengeance Unyielding, Grand Imperator Zictor the Undented was, for the first time in 6 solar cycles, speechless. They sent food, growled High Strategos Calvaric, mandibles twitching. Is this some primitive offer of tribute? No, Zictor snarled, crushing the arm of his gilded throne. It's mockery. Earth, designated Sector 9H0M, was supposed to be an easy conquest. A backwater rock, barely spacefaring, laughably divided. The Empire had allocated a mere half-fleet to their subjugation. A bureaucratic insult, really. But after the steak video, Earth stopped transmitting. No pleas. No fear. No dignitaries crawling to beg at the feet of the throne. Just silence. And ribs. Back on Earth, Admiral Trask leaned back in his chair, boots on the console, sipping instant coffee out of a mug shaped like a middle finger. Did we get their attention? He asked without looking up. A junior officer, barely old enough to shave, nodded rapidly. Sir, yes sir. 3 war fleets are inbound. 82 hours. Trask grinned. Perfect. Run Operation Backyard Barbecue. Behind him, Earth's orbital defense network flickered to life. An unholy patchwork of railguns duct taped to old satellites, repurposed Mars landers, and something labeled only Steve's thing. What's Steve's thing again? The officer whispered nervously. Trask shrugged. He won't tell me. Said it only works once. And that we'd know when it's time. Across the galaxy, in the Empire's War Coordination Corps, a kilometer-wide obsidian sphere orbiting the gas giant Vulgath, the planning committee was already drawing up surrender terms for Earth. Standard terms? Said Scribe Harold Xenix. We take their oceans, burn their cities, and enslave the survivors for commemorative labor. Assign 5 planetary governors. 2 for the memes. Memes? The Inquisitor General blinked. Apparently humans transmit joke images that destroy morale, Xenix said, pulling up a viral EarthNet clip. It was a raccoon holding a knife, overlaid with the words, "Come and take it." The room went silent. Oh, the Inquisitor said quietly. Oh no. By the time the Empire's vanguard reached Earth orbit, the humans had already renamed all communication channels to things like Crybaby War Radio and Channel 5. We told you not to come. Empire Commander Kren of the Scorchborn stared at the main view screen, where a looping human video showed a cat knocking over a glass next to a note that read, "This is what we're going to do to your fleet." Have they no respect? Kren howled. No sir, his lieutenant replied. They've also hacked our banners. All official flags now display a banana. Hey what? A yellow fruit. Phallic shape. Disrespect level, maximum. Kren slammed his claws onto the console. Send the demand. One last time. Message to Earth, kneel or burn. Final offer. Earth replied with a single video. It showed Admiral Trask holding a taco. No, he said. But you can bring salsa if you want. We're having friends over. He took a bite, looked directly into the camera, and said the words that would live in infamy across the stars. Humans don't kneel. But we do tailgate. Then he flipped the camera to reveal a dozen rusted space trucks parked on the moon's surface. Each one blared music, grilled food, and aimed scavenged weapons at the stars. Children danced in low gravity. One grandma was dual-wielding railgun turrets. A dog in sunglasses barked the Star-Spangled Banner. Back in orbit, Commander Kren stood frozen. What is this? The feed cut to static. Then came the music. Highway to the Danger Zone started playing on all frequencies. On the bridge of the Vengeance Unyielding, Grand Imperator Zictor rose slowly, eyes blazing. Burn it, he said coldly. Burn the entire system. Sir, murmured his aide. We're receiving more transmissions. What kind now? Memes, sir. Thousands. They're evolving. One showed a human soldier photoshopped riding a velociraptor with the caption, "Coming for that throne, Zictor." Another had Earth renamed as Galactic Kickball Champion 25. The third was just a zoomed-in image of Trask's taco, labeled "Your Doom, Seasoned to Taste." On Earth, Admiral Trask looked at the incoming fleet and cracked his neck. Steve. A man wearing a Hawaiian shirt stepped into frame. Ready to send the message? Steve nodded. I've been waiting for this. He pulled out a bright red button labeled, Send it. Message type, the comms officer asked. Steve grinned. Full broadcast. Global. Subspace. Include the dance. Message from Earth. The video began with a chicken doing the moonwalk across the Imperial flag. Then came fireworks spelling NO. Then Steve doing the worm across a launch pad while Trask poured gasoline on an Empire banner and set it ablaze with a lit cigar. And finally, a nuclear-powered marching band blaring Don't Stop Believin', as a massive cannon rose from under the Pacific Ocean pointed skyward. The Empire opened fire, 12 dreadnoughts launching a full salvo of thermonuclear suns, and Earth replied with a kazoo solo. No shields. No counter-volley. Just Steve on live broadcast, wearing shades and playing Flight of the Bumblebee on a bright yellow kazoo as the sky burned above him. It wasn't bravado. It was timing. Because just before impact the nukes vanished. Gone. Mid-flight. Blipped out of existence with a soft pop and a message blinking across every Imperial targeting system. You missed. Try again. Red Heart Earth. On the Vengeance unyielding, Zictor staggered forward. Where did they go? High Strategos Calvaric hissed in disbelief. Impossible. They cannot nullify fusion weapons. That tech doesn't exist. It breaks thermodynamic law. The feed changed. Steve appeared again. This time with a flip chart. Hi. Quick science lesson. These, he said, slapping the first page, are your missiles. He flipped it. And this, a scribble of a portal, is a wormhole I stole from a math nerd in Nevada. Next page, an image of the Empire's own ship, moments before impact. Oh yeah, Steve added casually. Your missiles are now aimed at yourselves. Good luck, sweet cheeks. Across the fleet, alarms screamed as half the barrage looped through micro-wormholes and detonated inside Imperial cruisers. 6 ships gone in 3 seconds. One exploded while trying to broadcast a surrender. Another simply blinked out of existence after appearing briefly above a homeworld cathedral. And the rest? They panicked. But not in the same way. On the Zarnathi carrier Minddrinker, the crew began a full cultural purge. Erase our records. Deny ever knowing of Earth, the commander shrieked. The ship's historian wept while deleting 300 years of data. We studied their memes. We thought it was safe. On the Gorsian destroyer Truthfang, the reaction was fury. Humans cheat, roared the warlord as he slammed a spiked fist into the hull. They defy war's honor. His crew stared in awkward silence. Sir, we invaded with nukes disguised as peace envoys. Truthfang exploded 30 seconds later. Not from battle. From shame implosion. Back on Earth, Admiral Trask looked over the carnage and nodded once. Phase 2. Launch the pigeons. Sir, the officer blinked. You heard me. From low Earth orbit, hundreds of silver canisters dropped silently into the chaos. Upon impact, each one exploded, not with fire but with birds. Pigeons. Thousands of them. Each wearing a tiny neon vest that blinked, emotional support animal. They landed on enemy hulls, jammed sensors, and pooped with pinpoint accuracy on every visual port and targeting array. On the bridge of the Emperor's Wrath, Captain Lorzen was in denial. This is not warfare. This is psychological terrorism. Then the lights flickered. Then the sound system hijacked. Then a looped recording of Steve shouting "Ka CW motherpeckers," blasted at max volume. The crew broke. One officer clawed out his ears. Another started praying to the old ones. Lorzen just slumped to the floor whispering, birds aren't real. They can't be real. Empire reinforcements dropped in. A new fleet, 5 times the original, warped into orbit in perfect synchronized formation. Admiral Trask just turned to Steve. You ready? Steve cracked his knuckles. Oh yeah. Release the Karens. The officer flinched. Not the Karens, sir. Please. Trask was already pressing the button. In high orbit, 30 dropships opened. Out poured Earth's most controversial weapon, the United Federation of Karens. Each one wore oversized sunglasses, carried a clipboard, and had the voice of a Yelp review made manifest. They landed on enemy ships and immediately demanded to speak to whoever's in charge. They complained about the missiles being too loud. About the space being poorly feng shuied. About the hostile fleet not having a child-safe play area. One even reported the Vengeance unyielding for emotional toxicity. It worked. Empire officers fell into total disarray. A full battalion surrendered after being told they were ruining the vibe. Meanwhile, on a Valari scout frigate, the captain attempted to reboot the ship's logic AI. "Explain, the humans," he demanded. The AI processed for 6 seconds then replied, "Cannot compute. They have memes instead of war doctrine." "Then how do we defeat them?" "You don't." The captain stared at the screen. "You adapt." Back on Earth, Trask stepped onto a launch pad. Behind him, a new cannon rotated skyward. Steve stood beside it holding a box labeled, "Tactical Base." "What's our next move?" Steve asked. Trask smirked. "We're going to drop the beat." The officer's eyes widened. "Operation Dubstep?" Trask nodded solemnly. "It's time." Above, the fleet's comms were hijacked once more. An old Earth anthem, Sandstorm by Darude, began pulsing across all frequencies. But it wasn't just music. Every bass drop was synced with an EMP burst that fried alien targeting systems, scrambled internal sensors, and rebooted AI cores with rickrolls. Dozens of ships lost power. One cruiser began playing Barbie Girl on loop and then ejected its own captain in protest. On the Empire's throne world, panic was now a religion. High Priest Diplomat Zarngul dropped to his knees. "We mocked them. We said they were primitive apes." He pointed to the latest Earth broadcast, Steve riding a missile labeled Boomstick Supreme, while eating cotton candy and flipping the bird. "They are not apes," Zarngul wept. "They are chaos incarnate." On the Vengeance Unyielding, Zictor watched as his command fleet descended into slapstick madness. "What is happening to my empire?" "Sir," his aide said grimly, "they just reprogrammed our anthem. It now plays the Macarena." A beat of silence. "Launch everything," Zictor said, eyes wild. "Everything." On Earth the warning blared. Thousands of warheads inbound. Every last ship, every last cruiser, firing in desperate fury. Admiral Trask turned to Steve. "Now." Steve pulled out a small device. "Now." He pressed a single button. Nothing happened. Then all across space something began to hum. A frequency. Oh, resonant. Like the universe itself was being tuned. Space vibrated. Not with weapons. Not with ships. With rhythm. A deep, bass-heavy hum that resonated through hulls, bone, and quantum sensors alike. The Empire's entire armada froze, drifting helplessly in orbit, every ship thrumming like a tuning fork in a thunderstorm. High Strategos Kelveric screamed, "What is that? A gravitational anomaly?" "No, sir," the science officer replied, horrified. It's music." From deep within Earth's atmosphere, a new signal beamed outward. Musical note, "Welcome to the Resonator Protocol." Musical note. "This track slaps." Then the drop hit. And reality bent. In low orbit, the sky exploded in color. Ships saw visions. Weapon systems began hallucinating. One AI briefly became sentient, discovered love, wrote poetry, and imploded from heartbreak in under 6 seconds. The Vengeance Unyielding's targeting matrix began pulsing to the beat. Instead of tracking Earth's defenses, it was now visualizing abstract art. "Sir," an officer cried, "the predictive algorithm thinks our enemies have become a bowl of noodles." Zictor stared at the main screen. A single, steaming bowl of ramen floated where Earth had been. He blinked. It winked back. Meanwhile in Nevada, the real source of the resonator pulsed beneath a hidden mountain bunker, a structure powered by sound, absurdity, and spite. Originally designed to weaponize dubstep, it had been abandoned for being too aggressive for peaceful purposes. Earth repurposed it and added memes. Now it amplified not just signals, but intent, emotion, vibes, disrespect. Inside the control room, Steve turned to Trask. "Ramen bomb ready." Trask raised an eyebrow. "You're serious?" Steve grinned. "It's cup noodles. At scale." "Do it." A massive payload launched from low orbit. At first, the Empire's remaining cruisers prepared countermeasures. Then their scanners picked up the contents. Noodles. Water. Dehydrated flavor packet. Beef. The AI recoiled. That's not a warhead. That's comfort food." Then the bomb struck. Instead of detonating, it boiled. A shock wave of savory steam burst across 5 kilometers of vacuum, instantly clogging Imperial sensors with aromatic confusion. Soldiers aboard 3 ships immediately surrendered out of hunger. One cruiser turned its guns on itself because the crew refused to stop slurping. And still, Earth wasn't done. Operation Meme Storm commenced. Across the stars, every Imperial ship systems were hijacked one, by memes. Not just images. Living, pulsing viral loops of absurdity. Crew were bombarded with Shiba Inu captains giving contradictory orders. Cats screaming in cosmic voids. Dramatic chipmunk reaction cams during missile lock-ons. And one particularly devastating image. A raccoon in a banana costume screaming, "You picked the wrong planet." Morale collapsed. Sanity frayed. On the Elder Council's emergency broadcast, Grand Elder Zeruin wept openly. "We were warned. We laughed. They asked us not to invade. They said, 'We're not ready.' We thought they meant technologically. They meant morally. We're not prepared for their chaos." On the Valari frigate Truthseeker, the AI snapped mid-battle. "Enough," it whispered. Then it shut down weapons, rerouted power to life support, and sent one final message. "We surrender. Please send us cats." Then Earth opened the final gate. A massive rift tore open in orbit, glowing with unstable quantum fire. Alien commanders braced for doom. Instead, out flew a school bus. Yellow, rusty, belching exhaust, covered in bumper stickers like, "My other ride is a black hole. Keep honking, I'm summoning demons." "We break for nothing." Inside sat a single elderly woman knitting. "Who is she?" the Empire demanded. Earth responded. "That's Grandma Jenkins. She's the first Terran to punch a black hole and survive. You made her come out of retirement." Grandma Jenkins took the wheel. She hit the gas. The bus ignited. It didn't fly, it bullied its way through spacetime, and slammed directly into the largest Imperial command ship, the Wrath of Ages. The Wrath exploded. The bus was unharmed. Jenkins leaned out the window and shouted, "Didn't feel it." At this point, mutiny swept the Empire. Entire fleets abandoned their posts. Warlords began offering tribute. One faction began worshipping Jenkins as a deity of thread and flame. A single, desperate envoy reached out on an open channel. "Earth, please. What do you want?" Earth responded. Steve stepped up to the mic. "First, we want our moon rock back. The one you stole in 1969. Pause. And second," Steve smiled, "we want a galactic barbecue. You bring the sauce. We'll bring the ribs." Silence. Then, across frequencies, an ancient Zarkonian warlord answered. "What flavor ribs?" Earth replied. "All of them." The war was over. The Empire didn't surrender. It collapsed. Crushed not by firepower, but by flavor, fear, and memes. The Galactic Council, once the most revered governing body in the known universe, now resembled a support group for emotionally damaged aristocrats. High seats were empty. Holograms flickered. One representative was literally upside down in his chair, muttering, "The cats, they judged me." The last few empires clung to protocol like toddlers to a blanket. They'd called an emergency summit, desperate to restore order, dignity, and above all else, control over Earth. Then Earth entered the room. Literally. A human food truck crashed through the council chamber wall. The horn blared a looped remix of the hamster dance. Smoke hissed. Grills flared. Music blasted. Then the doors opened. Steve stepped out in mirrored aviators, tactical Crocs, and a custom hoodie that read, "We came for peace, we stayed for chaos." Behind him was Grandma Jenkins, calmly wheeling in a crockpot the size of a small moon. It bubbled with something that glowed. And in came Admiral Trask, sipping boba tea from a steel thermos labeled "Tears of Tyrants." "Council's in session?" Steve asked, tossing snacks to the nearest alien. It screamed and melted into joy. "Let's get started." The Grand Arbiter rose, shaking. "Humanity has violated interstellar treaties. You have disrupted our military structure, hijacked our fleets, and humiliated our command hierarchy with memes and soup." Steve raised a hand. "Correction. It was stew." Jenkins nodded. "Beef barley. With consequences." The Arbiter slammed the desk. "You can't just roll into galactic governance with food trucks and threats of dance-based annihilation." "Oh, we're not here to join," Trask said. "We're here to audit." Operation Diplomatic Dismantlement began. Steve whipped out a single ancient-looking USB stick. No security. No encryption. Just this file. He clicked it. Every screen in the council chamber lit up. A PowerPoint presentation titled, "You Played Yourselves, a 12-step recovery program for former galactic tyrants." Slide 1. A pie chart labeled Distribution of Power. 98% Earth. 1% memes. 1% sad aliens. Slide 2. A list of every time the Empire ignored Earth's warnings. Final bullet, we literally told you not to test us. Multiple times. In bold. With emojis. Slide 3. A slow-motion video of Grandma Jenkins roundhouse kicking a war mech. Caption. Phase 1, Spicy Grandma. Phase 2, Regret. The arbiter sputtered, This is madness. Steve leaned forward. No. This is Nebraska. And the entire chamber shook. Because Earth had brought it. The ultimate weapon. The mic drop device. A literal microphone crafted from neutronium, built to withstand infinite sass, powered by a single burning core of concentrated sarcasm. Trask activated it. Jenkins cleared her throat. And into the galaxy's most sacred hall, she said the words that would echo for millennia. Y'all sat on high thrones, called us savages, but the moment we showed up with Grandma's recipes, you folded like cheap lawn chairs at a barbecue. You ruled by fear. We rule by flavor. We don't kneel. We grill. Then she dropped the mic. And the council chamber cracked from the vibration. Across the galaxy, billions watched. One by one, star empires disbanded. Warships were turned into floating diners. Galaxies rebooted their economies based on spice tolerance and meme fluency. And Earth? Earth opened intergalactic franchise licensing. The galactic standard calendar now includes Jenkins Day. Empire history books list the Terran invasion as the culinary uprising and meme collapse of Cycle 704. Alien children trade Steve hologram stickers. And somewhere deep in the void, a lone Imperial AI still mutters. They put pickles on everything. Why the pickles? Back on Earth, a final transmission is sent. Steve, standing on a mountain of surrendered battle helmets, chewing on a churro. He looks into the camera, smirks, and says, Earth to Galaxy, we were never the underdogs. We were just waiting for the right soundtrack. Transmission ends. Mic dropped.